Alright, this is going to be a short, to part 2 to the man's divinity, because it just cut off on the last video I just did due to storage and data issues. So the last little part is just a little short part. Man is God and God is man. This is a metaphysical truism that should be grasped mystically. It's taken literally. This spiritual truth appears heretical. God is everlasting and limitless, as is man, because man represents the spiritual structure of the broader cosmos. Enlightened people recognize God as the unfathomable and indescribable. When contemplating man's ultimate essence, one finds oneself in a similar position. Man transcends language. It is impossible to express what is beyond and void of physical, emotional, and mental structures. Egoism manifests itself in the deprivation of the actual ego and the exaltation of the false ego. Indulging in such state of mind precludes spiritual awakening. Man incorrectly identifies himself with the components of his material manifestations. For example, he believes he is the body, the sensations, the mind, and so on. This misidentification halts the development of his divinity abilities and powers, which develop inside man as the objective consciousness level. As he gains a better understanding of his real existence and expands his consciousness to cover higher states. Egoism is an idol that man unconsciously worships on the altar of his consciousness, and each time he thinks, talks, and acts inadequately, adversely, uncultured, and destructively, he exalts the deceiver of men, the beast, whose number is 666. Like I said before, the beast is a collective whole of being with the same ideology. They kill, steal, and destroy. They are in high and wicked places, principalities and rulers of the darkness. Some people call them the Illuminati today. Some people call them the 1%. Illuminati just means illuminated, the enlightened ones, those that are in the light while you are in the darkness. But this percentage, this group of people, what they do is they take things from their natural state and they pervert them. They divert things. They take it out of context and put it in reverse. They're diverting it from its actual direction of the message and perverting it, basically violating it, like a pervert would do, perverting it, diluting it, something from a pure and its potent state to watering it down to something else, or something from its natural roots of source, the creator, and then altering it. And how Trump say, make America great again, with all these products and conclusions, they're making everything fake again. Put it that way. Salah? But that's what 666 means. 666 is just the number of mankind. Just like when I say Yah, Hey, Ba, Hey, Ba signifies the divine masculine, which correlates with mankind itself, because in the beginning Elohim said, let us create them in our image. So mankind is basically the 666 being is the disagreeable being. The disagreeable being would you be called the deceptive being. In the Holy Tablets, it's called the agreeable beings and the disagreeable beings. The deceiver would be the disagreeable beings. The deceiver is the one that alters things from their original state and takes it out of context and makes it more favorable to them. The deceiver, it all starts with a D. Delude, deceiver, disable, dismantle, disapprove, This is all attributes of a deceiver, or those under the 666 order. 666 is the opposing force to 999. 999 is divine. It's the number that completes the cycle, 360 degrees creates a circle. 3 and 6 makes 9, 720 degrees. Circle square. 7 and 2 make 9. 72 names make up the attributes of God in the Hebrew Kabbalistic text, That's where you get multiple different names like Anu, Elionel, Elion, Elroy, Elohim, Adonai, you get Tezbayah, you get Shaddai, you get, or Elohim Sabah, It's multiple different names, I did a video a while back on it, but this is where this concept comes from, There's multiple names. These 72 names are different attributes, These attributes are within us. When we tap into the eternal God, when we adopt these specific attributes and we're in tune with the laws of nature, or what you would want to call Torah of cause and effect, the do's and don'ts, which will render us judgments or salvation, and have what we do in our present state, which will have effect on what our outcomes will be later on down the line, So, this is what it's all about, It's about being disciplined, disciplining ourselves, so we're in tune with nature, the natural order of things and source, so that we're not disagreeable beings, we're not deceivers, we're not disapproved of, we're not disabling, one who reached their most high self, in ignorance and kill, stealing, and then destroying, one's heritage, knowledge, true way of life, and saying that, oh, it's magic, it's witchcraft, or the Israelites, they didn't walk around the walls of Jericho 7 times and blow a ram's horn, a sound vibration, and make those walls come down. Or just like, there's a lot of stories that you don't get, but like the story of 300 Spartans, that's actually a story about the Israelites when, it was about 300 of them. They went up against 1,000, and that 300 slayed that 1,000. Just like it's other stories like in the Apocrypha, the book of Judith, It's about a woman Israelite, to the point that she had to seduce an army general down below, got him drunk, she went down there, she slit his throat, ear to ear, went out of there with his head to save her nation, which they had surrounded while they was up on the mountaintop. And this book, this is in the Apocrypha. These are stories they don't want you to hear about. Apocrypha just mean hidden. Actually, the Apocryphal books were in the 1611 Bibles and, in the earlier churches, just like the book of Enoch was in there, Just like these other stories, like the story about the Israelite sisters, Dinah. They don't tell you that the Israelites had to murder their ops. When I say ops, I'm talking about their opposition. The other nations, the story goes that their sister Dinah was raped. So the other nation of beings who raped her, they realized they did a disagreeable act. So what they did was try to come bearing gifts, so they wouldn't have to suffer any repercussions and consequences. So what they did was they tried to get her, Dinah, to marry, the boy that raped her, So the Israelites agreed to it. They was like, yeah, so they have a ceremony and wedding. So with their intention, the Israelites, this is what an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth really is. They got them all together in one place. And what they did while they was having this ceremony, what they did was they went and murdered all of them. They eliminated. They cut their whole bloodline off. These are stories that they don't want you to hear. These are in these apocryphal books, like the story of Judah. You know how she had to seduce the army general. You know, make herself look pretty. He thought he was getting some that night. You know, this is called the story of Judith. It's an apocrypha. You know, thought he was getting some. You know, he fell victim to the woman. You know, and the woman, she slit his throat from ear to ear, got him out the way. Just like the stories y'all hear with what's my man name? Samson, you know. Samson, he was an average guy, but he was just touched by God, you know. He was out here hoeing, whoremongering. He had a thing for ladies, but that became his downfall, you know. He got seduced, you know. Realized his 9 ether locks, you know, they had power. Because in Jamaican cultures and other cultures, dreads mean wisdom. Because wisdom, it takes patience. Patience to grow these locks, you know. You know, when you put them in the sun, you know, these are like your antennas through the ether, you know. It's wisdom, the patience, the experiences that you went through in the process of growing those hair. They are in those memories, you know. And his locks gave him power, you know. So they felt as though the only way to take away his power is to cut his hair, you know. Samson, I believe he had 7 locks in his head, you know. Locks are very important in the Bible. Just like after the song, I think it's the Psalms of Solomon. You know, you got the Psalms, and then I believe it's the Songs of Psalms in the Bible. But it talks about how us melanated beings, our locks were